It's your boy Captain Hunter coming at you again. Thank you so much for tuning in. And do me a favor, make sure that you hit that rate, subscribe, and share button. Hit that rate, subscribe, and share button. So today we've got to go into my home backyard here in the great state of Connecticut. Talk about a situation that's going on here that's been going on for well over a year now. I want to talk about this because a news reporter contacted me the other day and wanted to talk about this story, wanted to get my opinion about the story. So I decided to give it, and I'm waiting for that story to come out. But in the meantime, I thought I'd get up on this and just kind of talk about, this idea, this problem that goes on within law enforcement that erodes public trust within all of law enforcement. It's really, really sad. It's unfortunate. It's an ongoing, continual problem that let me be very clear, not only plagues law enforcement, but plagues really any type of organization where there is a lack of oversight, particularly from disinterested parties, right? Impartial parties who have some type of oversight, should have, I should say, some type of oversight, authority, investigatory powers. And that's, whether it's the legal profession, political professions, gotta have disinterested parties, medical professions where everybody's just kind of shaking the hands of individuals and glad handing and winking and smiling and not really doing so much to investigate other individuals who are in the same line. Because the problem with that, it erodes public confidence and trust. When you look at, let me see if I can pull it up. Let me take a look here. Okay, so this is the article that I was looking for. Americans' trust in scientists, other groups declines, right? So when you take a look at this, let me see if I can make it a little bit larger here. Public confidence in scientists and medical scientists has declined over the last year, right? So this article was from 2022, right? Yeah, February 15, 2022. The name of the report is Americans' Trust in Scientists, Other Groups Declines. Is this showing up? Yeah. Declines by Brian Kennedy, Alec Tyson, and Kerry Funk. Republicans' confidence in medical scientists down sharply since early in the coronavirus outbreak. They trusted Donald Trump. They did not trust Fauci and these other individuals, right? So here we can see percentage of adults who have whatever blank of confidence in the following groups and act in the best interest of the public, right? So medical scientists, a great deal is dark blue, a fair amount is light blue, not too much is green. And so in 2016, medical scientists, 84% had a fair amount. By 2021, that was down to 78%. A great deal was 24% and had gone up a little bit, 29%. And not too much was 15%, and it's skyrocketed up to 22%. So overall, there was a decline. Scientists, you can see the numbers here. Scientists was in 2016, 76% had a fair amount, 21% had a great deal amount, and 23% had no confidence at all. Scientists by 2021 and the end of 2021 had 22%. Remember, it was 23, now it's 22%. 76% was a fair amount, and 76% was in 2016. By 2021, it was 77, and it had gone up a lot by 2020, from 21% to 29%. Military confidence had decreased overall. So they had confidence decrease overall. Police officers obviously had decreased a great deal. Police officers was 78% in 2018, down to 69% for a fair amount. A great deal was 30%. By 2021, it was down to 20%, and 22% had not too much and no confidence at all. By the end of 2021, it was 31%. School principals was down. Religious leaders pretty much stayed the same. Journalists down. greatly, right? Because they believe the narrative of the fake media, business leaders, elected officials, of course, has always been low. But you got to vote new people in. There's something at least you can do about that. A lot of times you can't do anything about your religious leaders besides maybe not attending their services or not giving to them financially until they fix up their boat. School principals are usually under contracts. Police officers can be fired, but the general public doesn't have a say concerning who the applicants are and the pool of people who can choose from. So that's something that a discussion needs to have. Journalists are just not trusted because of they're just seem to be in bed. So anyway, I wanted to discuss that because we talk about police officers in their role. And so here's a story. Here's a story about 4 Connecticut troopers fabricated hundreds of tickets to gain favor perks. They avoided serious consequences, right? So this is from the Connecticut Insider, and this is from August 26, 2022, right? In the fall of 2018, Connecticut State Police superiors made a troubling discovery. 4 troopers, all from the same unit, had collectively created hundreds of fake tickets to make it appear they were more productive than they actually were. The troopers did so for their own personal benefit to curry favor and perks from supervisors, according to newly obtained internal affairs reports. Other phony ticket schemes have led to criminal charges against police officers in Connecticut and numerous other states. But these 4 troopers avoided such serious consequences, even after Connecticut State Police supervisors discussed among themselves whether the troopers possibly violated criminal law. Two troopers retired and avoided punishment altogether, records show. They are now collecting pensions nearly $70,000 annually. The other 2 troopers received pensions of 2 days and 10 days suspensions. The other 2 troopers received suspensions of 2 days and 10 days and were transferred to new units. One trooper was later arrested on workers' compensation fraud charges for allegedly continuing to run a side business while out on disability for the state police. He remains employed by the department, which paid him over $100,000. Mike Lawler, a University of New Haven criminal justice professor and a member of the Connecticut Police Officers Training Standards and Training Council, which certifies officers, said in his opinion, the internal affairs documents describe felony behaviors by the troopers, such as forgery and making false statements, and questions why no charges were brought. It's a crime to do that, Lawler said. Allegations like this seriously undermine confidence in the law enforcement system. That's exactly my point. It undermines confidence in the criminal justice system. The head of the state police, Colonel Stavros Malekis, at the time, said he was not in charge of the force when the investigation began and did not know if the cases were referred externally to the chief state's attorney for possible criminal charges. Malekis was a member of the agency's command staff when the investigations began. Yeah, you know what was going on. You knew this investigation was going on. What kind of answer is that? Malekis' tenure as the department's commanding officer began in 2019, a few months after the probes launched. Okay, this is crazy. More deflecting and not taking responsibility. And okay, I can't imagine not running it by the state's attorney. He said in a phone interview this month. A spokeswoman for the chief state's attorney, when asked if the state police ever referred to the case to their office, said this week that the Office of Division of Criminal Justice was unable to locate any record that reflected the division received a referral from the state police regarding this matter. So no one was talking to each other, and it just didn't get referred up. So that's what's going on. So that's really kind of the origination of this whole scandal. Lo and behold, not long after that, then the state police, and this is written June 28, 2023, right? So that was a whole year ago, the previous article that I just read. So now let's look at what the AP says. Hundreds of Connecticut State Police troopers falsified information on at least 26,000 traffic stops from 2014 to 2021, skewing reports on race and ethnicity of pulled over motorists, according to an audit released Wednesday. Again, this is coming from the AP. The name of the article is Connecticut Troopers Falsified Data on Traffic Stops Reported to Racial Profiling Board Audit Says. Data analysts from the University of Connecticut said the reports resulted in too many drivers being identified as white. They cautioned, however, they did not try to determine whether the records were intentionally falsified or were due to wrong, carelessness, or human error. Governor Ned Lamont said he referred the matter to the chief state's attorney's office for investigation and urged the public not to jump to conclusions. There's no indication that it was purposeful, he said in an unrelated news conference. We have a lot of it may have been inadvertent. The audit was spurred by the Hearst Media report last year that said 4 troopers, that's the article I just read, in an Eastern Connecticut barracks intentionally created hundreds of bogus traffic stops to boost their productivity numbers. After internal affairs investigations, 1 trooper was suspended for 10 days, another was suspended for 2, and another retired before the probe was completed. The audit found that the number of traffic infractions reported to the Connecticut Racial Profiling Prohibition Project advisory board didn't match those reported to the state court system, which handles all traffic citations, according to analysis with the Institute for Municipal and Regional Policy at the University of Connecticut. The analysts have a high level of confidence that at least 25,966 infraction records were falsified and submitted to the racial profiling systems, the report said. The audit said the number of falsified infraction records could be as high as 58,553 if certain criteria were included. Analysts reviewed more than 800,000 infractions issued over a 7-year period. We're talking about a pattern of having records where you cannot find a corresponding record in the court system, said Ken Barone, one of the Yukon analysts. If you claim you stopped a car and issued a ticket, there should be a ticket. So it's real simple, right? So they issue a ticket, they write on the ticket, they being the police, issue a ticket, they write on the ticket whether it's a white male, white female, Hispanic, black, etc. Black man, black woman, etc. Then that goes in their system, and then of course that ticket should show up at the courthouse because people have to pay their fines, plead guilty or not guilty, show up for court if it's a misdemeanor, etc. There's no record of it being in court, so this is the cross analysis that was done. And on their tickets, right, these falsified tickets, they were falsifying the race of the individual. And more than likely, here's the 2 reasons that they were falsifying 2 tickets. I'm just speculating. Obviously, I have not spoken with any of the officers or had access to any of the reports that have been generated thus far in their internal affairs investigation reports or anything like that. So this is just my own speculation as to why. Number 1, always pressure to produce. Pressure to produce. You know, how many tickets are you writing this month, Hunter? Okay, you got to get out there and get more tickets, right? But then at the same time, they don't want to be labeled as racists because everybody that they're stopping is black or Hispanic or whatever. And so therefore they're falsifying the records about all these white individuals. Okay. So this is what's going on. So there's a pressure to produce. You have to go out there and be productive. Can't just drive around for 8 hours or whatever their shifts are. Off the top of my head, I don't know how long the state police work, but if they're working 8 hours or overtime hours, and particularly if you're working in a slow town, right, and you still got to be under pressure to produce, right, there's not a lot of traffic violations. You driving up and down the highway, can't find anybody, and everybody's driving the speed limit and all. You still got to be under pressure. Still, is probably a pressure to produce, right? Then, of course, when you do go out there and falsify tickets, you can't just stop a bunch of racially similar people all the time, right? So you got to switch it up. But now they're putting everybody who they stop as white, thinking that that's not going to get them into trouble. So crazy. Lamont and the analyst noted that the number of discrepancies between state police and data and court system had decreased in recent years. The report said most discrepancies were in 2014. Well, that's good. They weren't continuing up with this nonsense. The analysts said they audited traffic stop information submitted by about 1,300 troopers, and 311 of them had statistically significant numbers of discrepancies. So this will tell you that if they have a number of discrepancies, and it's beyond just human error, right? Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 times you check the wrong box. Maybe you're in a hurry. It's late or it's early, and you're not thinking. And you check white male, you really meant to check black male. You check white female, and then really meant to check white female. Oh, okay. We can get that a couple of times. But when it's whatever they set their number at, it was just higher than what it should have been, and that causes a problem. And it's the same officers, 311. So this is a pattern and a practice of doing something over a year, right? The American Civil Liberties Union of Connecticut called the audit's findings troubling. The audit reveals a breathtaking disrespect for the state's racial profiling prohibition law by Connecticut State Police employees, and even worse, for the law's goal of reducing systemic racism in policing, said Claudine Constant, the group's public policy and advocacy director. Whether intentional or not, the impact of police falsifying and inaccurately reporting records is the same. Police have obscured the true information about how often they stop drivers of color compared to white drivers, she said in a statement. So they're attempting to defeat the system. State Police said in a statement Wednesday that the agency had no tolerance for false reporting and had been working with the UConn Institute to prevent it. The state police are deeply committed to ensuring the integrity of Connecticut's racial profiling data and to maintain public confidence in the essential public safety services for our troopers provide each day, the statement said. Police statewide, including local departments, are mandated to submit traffic stop data to the state under Connecticut's 1999 law aimed at preventing racial profiling. The UConn Institute analyzes the data and prohibits and submits periodic reports which have shown that officers disproportionately pull over black and Hispanic drivers compared to white drivers. The Institute said Wednesday that the integrity of those analysts was in question because of the falsified records were more likely to be reported as white drivers and less likely to be reported as black and Hispanic drivers. So we don't know how many individuals of any race are really accurately being stopped and reported. We don't know. The audit also found that some state police was underreported racial profiling board, and those records were more likely to involve Hispanic drivers. Falsified data is nothing new. In 2010, for example, New York City officers faced internal charges based on allegations by a fellow officer that they manipulated crime stats. In Texas, state troopers were found to be inaccurately recording the race of minority drivers, according to a report. Right, so this is nothing new. Okay, so Connecticut, there's another article from the AP. Connecticut troopers under federal investigation for allegedly submitting false data to traffic stops. Hartford, Connecticut, this is August 4th. And it's early September as I record this. The U.S. Department of Justice has taken over an investigation allegations that hundreds of Connecticut state troopers may have submitted false information on thousands of traffic infractions to a racial profiling board, data that made it appear police were pulling over more white drivers than they were, the state's top prosecutor said. Chief State's Attorney Patrick Griffin told WTNH-TV on Thursday that the DOJ asked his office to suspend its investigation, which was ordered by Governor Ned Lamont, because of it is doing its own probe. I agree with that decision, Griffin said in a taping for the station's weekend news show This Weekend in Connecticut. I think the DOJ, the Department of Justice, brings the tools and the resources necessary to conduct the investigation. On the one hand, he said. On the other, I think that the investigation will be thorough. I think that it will be independent. I think that this is probably good because, the chief state attorney often works with the state police on different homicides and major investigations. May know these officers, may be friendly with members of the higher ups and higher ranking officials. So in order to keep the investigation independent, as I mentioned, when I first started off talking about this, is imperative. Griffin confirmed that the information in the statement sent to the Associated Press on Friday. Civil rights groups had raised questions about the objectivity of the investigation being conducted by Griffin's office, which worked with the state police in criminal cases. In addition to the Justice Department inquiry, an independent investigation ordered by Lamont is already being led by former Connecticut U.S. Attorney Deirdre Daley, who now works in private law practice. Right, so it's another investigation. Let's see. The justice. So there's going to be kind of two investigations going on. An independent investigation. Let's read what that is. Let's pause right there. Connecticut's governor orders an independent investigation into falsified traffic tickets. So this is about Deirdre Daley and the probe that the governor of Connecticut, Ned Lamont, ordered. He ordered this July 20th. Well, this article came out July 24th. Governor Ned Lamont on Monday ordered an independent investigation into the state police after an audit last month showed the troopers falsified at least 26,000 stops from 2014 to 2021. Data analysts from Yukon identified too many drivers as being white. We read all that. Lamont originally asked Connecticut State's Attorney Office to look into the discrepancies and said there was no evidence of internal wrongdoing. Lamont originally asked Connecticut's Chief State's Attorney's Office to look into the discrepancies and said there was no evidence of intentional wrongdoing. But on Monday, the governor said an independent investigation is needed to get to the bottom of this and learn how it happened, why it happened, and to prevent it from happening again. The governor's office said it appointed Deirdre Daly, a former U.S. attorney for Connecticut, to lead the investigation. She and her team have indicated their review could take up to 6 months or longer to complete, depending on how many people will need to be interviewed and the level of cooperation investigation, Lamont said. Connecticut State Police Colonel Stavros Maleka said he has ordered all Connecticut state troopers to cooperate with the investigation. Police statewide, including local departments, are mandated to submit traffic stop data to the state under Connecticut's 1990 law aimed at preventing racial profiling. The Institute for Municipal and Regional Policy at Central Connecticut State University analyzes the data and submits periodic reports which have shown that officers disproportionately pull over Black and Hispanic drivers compared to white motorists. Right. So this is curious to me as to the logic of why Ned Lamont already ordered an independent investigation to figure out, what happened, why it happened, and prevent it from happening again. And now, from this article, and I doubt whether this article is written correctly, that the DOJ, let me see the exact terminology here, Chief State's Attorney Patrick Griffin told WTNH on Thursday that the DOJ asked his office to suspend his investigation, which was ordered by Governor Lamont because it's doing its own probe. Now, was the feds called in? What gives them the authority to just walk in there? That's curious to me. I don't think that they can just do that. But anyway, so this is the article, right? It's falsifying data. There's 2 investigations that are going on, giving law enforcement less credibility. Doing these gestures after the fact. The colonel, the leader of the Connecticut State Police, saying, after the fact, I've ordered everyone to cooperate, and we're going to cooperate. But how come this stuff wasn't found out before? I mean, this is the problem that people have. You have to take proactive steps to root out corruption in any and all forms. And even after all this, to me, disingenuous speak. I'm just going to call it what I think that it is. Disingenuous speak as to what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't the head of the organization at the time. I can't imagine why we didn't contact the state police. You were a top brass at the time. You may not have been the chief, but you were top brass. Just inexcusable. And this is why when we read off those statistics about the level of confidence in those institutions that are supposed to be serving the public, that there's just zero confidence. There's just zero confidence. Not zero, but lowering of confidence for the media, for the military, for politicians, and of course for the police. But anyway, so that's it. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions about this article. What is your opinion of the police? I mean, do you think they are just corrupt? Do you think that they are inherently corrupt? Do you think that they can be redeemed, and all that? So, I just want to take a quick Google right here. Let's. This is from the Connecticut State Police. Of course, let's get to Union side of this. Right, this is August 23rd, a little bit closer in time to where I want to go with this. Connecticut State Police tells public not to rush to judgment on false ticket audit. Leaders of the Connecticut State Police Union on Wednesday implored the public not to rush to judgment on an audit that found a high likelihood of reports to troopers falsified traffic ticket records. This is from the Connecticut Insider. Union officials said an ongoing state police investigation that audits findings has already cleared some troopers of wrongdoing. and there may be other legitimate explanations for discrepancies for audit uncovered with other troopers. You're innocent until proven guilty, said Executive Director and General Counsel Andrew Matthews at a press conference the union called on steps on state capitol. Meanwhile, one of the audit's co-authors, Ken Barone, a project manager of the state-funded Connecticut Racial Profiling Prohibition Project at UConn, defended the report. I do take some issue with the narrative that this report was rushed or it was somehow a draft report. Barone reported shortly after the news conference. It took us almost 9 months to do this work. The audit released in late June found a high likelihood that troopers entered at least 25,966 false traffic stop information into a database used by the supervisor to monitor ticket writing. So not only did they write the ticket or fail to write the ticket on the side of the road or whatever, either they did it or they did not do it, but then they came into the system and then somebody else or themselves, depending on how their system works, entered those tickets into their stop database system. Okay. Because most of the allegedly false tickets entered into the system identifies drivers as they are white, they likely skewed racial profiling data auditors found. The audit was prompted by Connecticut Insider report last August that state police officials had caught 4 troopers intentionally making up tickets for traffic stops that never happened. The audit's findings prompted at least 4 ongoing investigations, one by the U.S. Department of Justice, that's what we just talked about, another by the U.S. Department of Transportation, one by former U.S. Attorney Deirdre Daley that was ordered by Governor Ned Lamont, and an internal probe by the state police. I wonder why DOT's not telling me. Okay, maybe I need to check out why the DOT is involved in this. On Wednesday, union officials said they called a press conference to try to clear up what they described as misleading statements about the audit's findings since its release. DOT might be involved because of just falsified data, right? That goes into how many accidents are occurring, or where stop signs need to be, road closures, road adjustments, et cetera, et cetera. So that's probably why DOT is involved in that. They said at least one threat has been made in the wake of the audit. A comment posted on the union's Facebook called for taking the lives of corrupt police officers, and the union plans to ask the state police officials to investigate. This is dangerous stuff, Matthews said. Union officials claimed that the ongoing probe by state police, which focused on 130 troopers flagged in the audit, had cleared 27 troopers of wrongdoing. Right, so probably there's got to be some legitimate mistakes in there. Got to be, as far as officers, just entering the wrong information for whatever reason, or at whatever point. But as one article put it, when you have statistically significant numbers, then that can't be all accident, right? Back to the report, Barone said the state police and racial profiling prohibition project have agreed on a list of 17 troopers cleared of wrongdoing because the state police inadvertently gave troopers duplicate badge numbers during parts of the audit period. Because auditors only troopers' badge numbers, not their names, the duplicate numbers meant some discrepancies were assigned to the wrong troopers, Barone said. A spokesperson for the state public safety, James Rovella, referred a request for comment to state police, which declined to comment in an effort to preserve the integrity of the still active and ongoing investigation. Matthews said the exoneration of some troopers should give people pause, and that union officials expect more troopers will be exonerated. At the press conference Wednesday, union officials echoed remarks they made in a meeting with legislators last month, arguing there's a number of innocent reasons why a citation may appear in one database and not the other. Some discrepancies the audit found could have been the result of lacking of training from troopers, human error, or technology problems. That's completely plausible. I won't continue reading on with this, but this is so the union is giving theirs and just asking for judgment. Of course, asking for reservation in judgment. Don't condemn the police automatically. Let's give this investigation time to work. Fair point, obviously. Some troopers have already been cleared. Fair point, obviously. The other point is, is about these threats. Obviously, can't stand by that. That's despicable. Can't go around saying that kind of stuff. And even if you're listening to me, don't like the police, still unacceptable. Still unacceptable. There are now multiple. This is July. There are now multiple investigations into Connecticut State Police false ticket scandal. Joshua Eaton, staff writer, July 29, 2023. Hundreds of, yeah, we read all that. 2 days after the audit came out, June 28th, Connecticut's top prosecutor's chief state's attorney, Pat Griffin, announced an investigation. That investigation that we now know has been suspended because the DOJ has taken over. Former U.S. attorney, shortly after Griffin's office launched its investigation, some experts criticized its independence because the State Police Central Major District Crime Squad appeared to be involved in the probe. Yeah, you can't do that, right? July 19th, 3 weeks after the audit came out, Governor Ned Lamont said he would appoint an outside firm to do an independent investigation. We're going to have an independent investigation to make sure this never happens again. 5 days later, Lamont appointed Deirdre M. Daley, the former U.S. attorney for the District of Connecticut, to carry out the investigation. Former President Barack Obama appointed Daley as Connecticut's first female U.S. attorney in 2013. She served in the post until 2017. She's currently a partner at Stanford law firm, Finn and Dixon Erling. DOJ. During the Judiciary and Public Safety and Security Committee's joint meeting on Wednesday, Commissioner James N. Rovella said the Federal Department of Justice could soon launch a probe into the state police. I believe the DOJ will be involved, said Rovella, who leads the Department of Emergency Services Public Protection, which oversees the state police. Traffic enforcement on interstate highways is funded largely by grants from the federal government, pulling the scandal into the Justice Department's jurisdiction. Well, there you go. They don't have to. I guess they don't have to be requested to come in. They can just do it. The Justice Department investigation opens up at least one new stitch. One of the top officials in the U.S. Connecticut U.S. Attorney's Office is Daley's husband, Alfred U. Pavlis. The Justice Department investigation opens up at least one new stitch. One of the top officials in the Connecticut U.S. Attorney's Office is Daley's husband, Alfred U. Pavlis. Spokespeople for Rovella said the U.S. Attorney's Office declined to comment to the insider. Should this lady be involved now too? What the heck? Oh my God. Department of Transportation Inspector General, Connecticut insider broke the news that the Inspector General for the Federal Department of Transportation had sent a subpoena to the state police demanding documents in an interview. The subpoena didn't reference the ticket scandal directly, but included a request for the names of 1,301 police officers, state police employees, the exact number of troopers whose tickets were analyzed in the racial profile prohibition audit. Rovella confirmed the subpoena at Wednesday meeting with legislators and went a step further, calling the DOT transportation probe an investigation. There's a federal investigation that's looming presently, and there could be a second federal investigation this week, he said, in reference to the DOT and the Department of Justice. It's not clear how the Justice and DOT probes will interact, but the two agencies have collaborated in investigations in the past. And of course, state police are doing their own internal investigation. A lot of subpoenas, a lot of paperwork flying over this, a lot of dead trees over this nonsense. State legislative lawmakers repeatedly asked the state police for copies of preliminary reports of data and investigative findings. This is just crazy. So anyway, that's what we got going on here. So anyway, let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Really, really sad. Another case of police just doing stupid stuff. Much love and peace.